Norwegian police say at least 84 people have been killed in a shooting spree at a youth camp on the island of Utøya near the capital Oslo. The attack came shortly after a powerful blast shook the government centre in downtown Oslo, claiming at least 7 lives. A 32-year-old Norwegian man has been arrested in Norway in connection with the dual attacks.
The terrorist attacks of Anders Breivik shook the world. Waging a war against Islam, he massacred dozens of innocent people. What was the fallout on Muslims? How were they affected? What effect did it have on Islamophobia? And how many Muslims still have the courage to say, Breivik, we built a mosque?
Norway is a celebration of uniqueness in Western Scandinavia, with unique scenery, unique culture, unique art and unique people. Of its 5 million citizens, more than 710,000 individuals are migrants to Norway or their second-generation descendants. 61% of these migrants have a non-Western background, originating from countries such as Morocco, Pakistan, Somalia and Iraq. Such demographics beg the question, what place do Muslims, and in particular Shia Muslims, have in Norway? I've decided to travel to Oslo to meet the Shia community myself and see what place Shia Islam has in Norway. Norway has a rich history of over 1,000 years. It is also probably one of the most peaceful countries in Western Europe, with barely any wars fought in the last few centuries. It is the home to stunning and dramatic scenery, as well as a lively capital with a population of 630,000, and is home to the Nobel Peace Prize. In the middle of such an environment, there are approximately about 160,000 Muslims, making up about 3% of the Norwegian population. Here, Tawhid Islamic Center stands as the first Shia purpose-built mosque in the country, a project that cost somewhere in the region of £3 million. A lively community with daily congregational prayers, Friday prayers, programs, activities, full-time imams and youth groups. I came to visit the Tawhid Islamic Center to discover what place Norwegian Muslims have in the Norwegian society.
If someone comes from abroad to Norway, they will see that the Muslim identity is quite established here in Norway, despite the fact that we're quite a little number compared to other European countries. In Norway we have about 200,000 Muslims in total, whereas Shias represent about 25% of them. And despite the fact that we have so few Muslims compared to other European countries, we have 4 established mosque, purpose-built mosque in Norway. And apart from that, if you go to places where there's a majority of Muslim, you will see that they are quite established there. And the great thing is that many Muslim youth have started to take higher education, and they're engaging in the political debates, they're engaging in social activities, and they're basically becoming part of the society. What the Muslims in Norway have managed to do within the short time they have actually stayed in this country is better than any other European countries, without a doubt. The thing is, in London now, Muslims have been there for 100 years, and still, or especially Shias, they still haven't got any purpose-built mosque. Here, the Muslims have been there for what, 40, 50 years, and we have a purpose-built mosque, a proper mosque. But the thing is, our generation, we're second generation here now. And in other countries you find 3rd, 4th, even 5th generation. And we have learned a lot of their mistakes and their actual developments and their achievements and everything. And we have implemented it in our society. So what makes us different is that we have learned from them as well as we have come with our own thoughts. and we have created the Norwegian Shia identity.
But how long have Muslims lived in Norway? Looking at statistics, the population of Muslims in the country had not been noticeable till the latter half of the 20th century. At the end of the 1990s, Islam became the largest minority religion in Norway. We met with one of the eldest members of the Shia community in Norway to tell us about his experiences arriving in Norway over 40 years ago.
उसमें बात यह है मैं 68 में आया उधर यहाँ पर 6-7 आदमी थे और यहाँ पे मजलिस वगैरह या शिया वगैरह का कोई सिलसिला ही नहीं था। उसके बाद फिर मैं केस्टें वगैरह जो हैं वो पाकिस्तान से लाया था। जब फिर हमने यहाँ पे वो केस्टें वगैरह जिन पे केस्टें लगाते थे, रेडियो वगैरह थे, टेपें थी, तो वो लेकर हमने शुरू किया, तो मजलिस वगैरह लगाया करते थे। फिर 70 में मेरी वाइफ आई है और उन दिनों में हुमायूं शाह के वालिद साहब भी इधर आए हुए थे, तो हम इकट्ठे बैठकर मजलिसें सुनते थे, एक दूसरे से बातें भी करते थे मुहर्रम के दिनों में। और दूसरे नंबर पे ये बात है, उन दिनों में हमें काम ही काम था ना, क्योंकि काम के लिए तो आए थे, तनख्वाहें भी बहुत थोड़ी थी, वो इसलिए कि गुजारा ही नहीं होता था एक ड्यूटी करने से। मैंने काफ़ी अर्सा 2 ड्यूटियाँ की हैं, इस वजह से मजलिस वगैरह घर में सुना करते थे हम। मुहर्रम के दिन जब आते थे तो पता चल जाता, जंतरियाँ जो होती थी हमारे पास, तो उन दिनों में फिर हम मजलिसें घर में भी केस्टें वगैरह लगाया करते थे, मगर इतने लोग नहीं थे। 75 में कुछ लोग आए हैं और फिर हमने मजलिसें वगैरह घरों में कर लेनी, कभी फलकट हाउस में, इस तरह करके 79 तक हम पहुँचे। 79 में पहली दफ़ा यहाँ पे मुहर्रम हुआ है टाइन स्टेशन पे। कराची से आलम दीन आए हुए थे, उन्होंने मुहर्रम पढ़ा है 79 में। उसके बाद फिर ये सिलसिला जो है वह शुरू हुआ। 79 में ही अंजमन रजिस्टर्ड हुई है, तो हम यहाँ ज़्यादातर फिर मजलिसों वगैरह में आने शुरू हुए, मगर पहले घर में ही मजलिसें किया करते थे। उसके बाद भी कभी फलकट हाउस में, जब अंजमन रजिस्टर्ड हुआ, कभी फलकट हाउस में, कभी कहीं जगह किराए पे लेकर हम किया करते थे।
It is apparent that Islam has an admirable presence in Norway. But how is Islam being propagated in Norway? And how is the Norwegian society responding to this propagation? Stand for Hussein is an organization that became famous in 2011 for handing out hot chocolate on a cold Norwegian day to passers-by, as a way of informing them about the legacy of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. I was personally obliged to visit them in Oslo city centre, where they were handing out cakes for the birth of Imam Ali alayhi salam and inviting Norwegian women to try on the hijab.
As you can see, this stand is actually organised by Stand for Hussein, and they initially were created in 2011. So it's a funny story how they came together, because there was a few people that met over Facebook, 3 people, and they didn't know each other. And then they had this, all of them had the same goal. They wanted to spread the message of Islam, and specifically the Ahlul Bayt. So then they created the Stand for Hussein, the organisation. And so today, specifically, we're celebrating the wiladat of Bibi Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha, and Imam Ali alayhi salam. So we thought it's a nice way to spread Islam by giving out cake, and at the same time we have a section where people can try out hijab. So it's really cool for people to try a new experience and how they feel while they have hijab on.
It was more random. I was just walking with my friend, and we like to try something new, and it's interesting. I have many Muslim friends, and it would be interesting to see their point of view of hijab, or the use of hijab. I feel the same, really. It's a bit weird too. It feels odd. I'm curious. I'm a very curious person, and I don't find it intrusive at all. I feel it's something, I like to know more about.
Some people, they don't understand, and they come to our stand and say, "Why are you standing here? Are you Norwegian? What are you trying to say? What's your message?" So we want everyone to know what Islam is about.
Me personally, I believe that
my religion is something beautiful, something that is the right way of living. It tells you about it. And Imam Ali, he inspires. He can inspire both Muslims and non-Muslims. The way he leads his people, the respect he was known for, the way he talked or spoke to those both enemies and friends. His manners, it's something that everyone can be inspired of. And the Norwegian society, I'm kind of a part of the Norwegian society, so I always want to do the best for my society, and I believe that to know or to be informed about personalities like Imam Ali, Imam Hussein, peace be upon them both, and women in Islam like Zainab, peace be upon her, Fatima al-Zahra, Khadija al-Kubra, peace be upon them all, to know about them, and so they can be inspired by them. It was quite easy to integrate into society because everyone is quite friendly and open-minded, and open-mindedness is really important because you understand each other, and as long as we respect each other and the community, the Norwegian community as well, so it makes it easier to understand each other, and they are open-minded, they listen to what we're about, they're interested to find out new things, they're open to gaining knowledge. So it's kind of like we're lucky to be in this community where they want to spread. They're happy to hear from us. Understandably, you can understand this both reactions. For example, today on today's stand, we had some people saying, "Why are you doing this? Why can't you be like us? Exactly like us. Why do you have to have this hijab?" So, in a way, that kind of motivates us more because we have to tell people what we're about. People think we're maybe like terrorists and have misconceptions about that, but that's the whole point, where it kind of motivates us more and promotes us to do more events like this. So we have lots of different events. It's not the only, we give out water, hot chocolate, roses, balloons. We try and find new innovative methods to kind of spread the message. So we hope that people come to understand what really Imam Hussein Ahlul Bayt are about this way.
At the heart of Oslo is Oslo City Hall. Beneath a tapestry of painting and art, it is here that the Nobel Peace Prize is awarded every year. The founder of the Nobel Peace Prize was Alfred Nobel, who requested that it be awarded to the person that has done the most or best work for fraternity between nations, for the abolishment or reduction of standing armies, or for the holding and promotion of peace congresses. In the heart of this metaphor for the establishment of peace and prosperity, we see that Muslims have already integrated. Abdullah Alawi, a Muslim originating from Bahrain, has been working for the Labour Party in the Norwegian government for years. I met with him here at Oslo City Hall to ask him just why, as a practicing Muslim, he decided to get involved in politics.
شاركت في العملية السياسية في النرويج لتغيير الأوضاع حوالي في المجتمع النرويجي، وكي أكون ممثل للشعب في النظام السياسي، ممثل إلى المحرومين، ممثل إلى جميع المضطهدين الفقراء. ودائما من أهم القضايا اللي أعمل عليها هي رفع مستوى المعيشة للشعب النرويجي كافة. طبعا الإسلام يحث كل مسلم على المشاركة، نشوف هذا من سيرة الرسول الأعظم صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، أنه كان مشارك في المجتمع قبل الرسالة، مشارك، حتى كانوا يسمونه الصادق الأمين، وكان يحل كثير من المشاكل الاجتماعية، المشاكل القبلية اللي كانت موجودة. فلا شك بأن ديني يحثنا على المشاركة، والحمد لله احنا نعيش في دولة باب المشاركة مفتوح فيه، كل واحد يريد يشارك يقول له تفضل شارك، إذا أنت كنت أمين وصادق، فهذا ما يمنع أي أحد، ما يمنعون أي أحد من المشاركة. فأنا رأيت هذا كواجبي، أشارك في العملية السياسية لخدمة الشعب. السياسة بشكل عام في وجهات نظر، في اختلاف، هذا لا شك فيه، إن كان هني أو إن كان في العراق أو إن كان في باكستان أو في أي مكان. ولكن المهم هو مو الاختلاف، المهم شلون أنت تتعامل مع الاختلاف. وهني عندهم معاملة جيدة مع الاختلاف، يعني تشوف أنه في سياسيين مختلفين 100%، ولكن في نفس الوقت إذا خلص النقاش السياسي يقعدون يأكلون ويا بعض ويشربون ويا بعض. فالمشكلة والهدف الأساسي هو مو محاربة الاختلاف، لأن الاختلاف موجود وراح يكون موجود ما دامت هاي الأرض موجودة، ولكن كيف احنا نتعامل مع الاختلاف هذا الشيء مهم. النرويج دولة مسالمة، دولة أعطت المسلمين الكثير من الفرص. يعني هني في النرويج في نظام يدعم ماليا المجتمعات الدينية إن كانت مسلمة أو إن كانت مسيحية، وهذه يعني الدولة المثالية، إنه إن كنت مسلم أو إن كنت مسيحي أو مثلا ملحد يعني فلك نفس الحقوق، لك نفس الدعم من الدولة. وهذا الشيء مهم يعني، وإحنا في السياسة نحاول نركز على هذا الشيء، إنه المسلمين مع يعني يساوون مع الغير مسلم في هذه الدولة. حزب العمال النرويجي هو حزب معتدل، حزب يعني واقف في جنب الأجانب، وإليه يعني الكثير من الإنجازات التاريخية يعني والفضل لتقدم النرويج. النرويج اليوم من أفضل الدول من ناحية المعيشية، وهذا كله بفضل يعني حزب العمال وسياسته.
Speaking to Abdullah reassured me that the Norwegian society was one open to people of different faiths and beliefs. However, it also reminded me of a darker time, a black stain on the peaceful history of Norway.
Norwegian mass murderer Anders Breivik, who admitted killing 77 people and taunted the court with Nazi salutes, has been declared sane by judges. He's been jailed for a maximum of 21 years for committing the country's worst atrocity since World War II, with his bombing and gun rampage in Oslo and Utøya Island. But broken down, his sentence equates to just over 3 months for each of his victims. Breivik smirked when he heard the verdict. At the end of his sentencing, he apologised to militant nationalists for not killing more people. He's always insisted on his sanity and that the killings were part of his fight against the Islamophobia of Norway. EU countries were suffering a rise in far-right activities before the tragedy, but as Tessa Asilla reports, Breivik's ideas are now fueling even more hatred towards immigrants and Islam.
In July 2011, Anders Breivik perpetrated a devastating terrorist attack on Norway, aimed at the Labour Party. After bombing government buildings in Oslo, he turned his attention to the small island of Utøya, the site of a Norwegian Labour Party youth camp, where, posed as a police officer, he shot and murdered 69 people. Seeing Utøya for myself, I was reminded of the terrifying grip of Islamophobia by the eerie silence of the area. The attacks were carried out by Breivik as a statement to the Norwegian government to be enemies of Islam, as opposed to allowing them to practice their religion in what he believed to be a Christian Europe. Abdullah at that time was a part of the Labour Party, and on that day he lost many friends and colleagues to the terror attacks of Anders Breivik.
أول ما سمعت الخبر كنت قاعد يعني على الكمبيوتر في أوسلو، وكان خبر مأساوي جدا. طبعا أول ساعات ما كنا نعرف شنو اللي صار وحجم يعني الكارثة اللي صارت، ولكن في اليوم الثاني وفي الأيام الثانية يعني تبين لنا حجم الكارثة، وكان شيء يعني مريع. الحياة بالنسبة إلينا جميعا يعني خصوصا كنا نعرف ناس في الجزيرة توقفت في الأسابيع والأشهر، يعني كانت فترة حزن، مو بس يعني إلي شخصيا، وأيضا إلى الدولة يعني النرويجية بشكل عام. كان طابع الحزن غالب على الشعب النرويجي، والبكاء في الشوارع والورود في كل مكان. فطبعا كان شيء مؤثر يعني لي شخصيا والى المجتمع النرويجي بشكل عام. تقدر تقول انه الدافع ماله كان دافع يعني تقدر تقول دافع سياسي، ودافع يعني حقد على الآخرين. واللي صار انه هذا الحقد يعني فجر عند يعني هذا الشخص اجرام، فقتل من خلال الكثير من الشباب اللي راحوا ضحية الى هذا العمل الارهابي اللي صار وحد المجتمع النرويجي. يعني كانت ردة الفعل مثل ما قال يعني رئيس الوزراء النرويجي، يعني أكثر ديمقراطية، أكثر انفتاح، أكثر إنسانية. وهذا تجسد يعني في النرويج عبر الفترة يعني بعد العمل الإرهابي، إنه المجتمع النرويجي كان في يعني محبة، وكان في تآلف يعني أعتقد ما شفناه في تاريخ النرويج كله. المسلمين شاركوا أيضا في هذا الحزن في النرويج، وأعتقد أنهم وشاركوا في المواساة وإلى دعم العوائل اللي فقدت أبنائها. وهذا كان يعني رمز من الرموز اللطيفة في هذا الزمن الصعب اللي مرت فيه النرويج، إن المجتمع النرويجي بكافة ألوانه، كافة دياناته، تحالف والثاني دعم الثاني. فهاي كانت من الأشياء الجيدة اللي يعني طلعت على الساحة بعد اللي صار من إجرام.
After such a terrible attack, I wondered if Islamophobia had risen in the country that Abdullah called a peaceful one. In the fallout of such tragedy, perhaps many Norwegians felt that it was only after the introduction of Muslims to the country that such an attack would take place. Or perhaps they felt more uneasy embracing their Muslim neighbors. I wanted to find out just how Muslims were being treated in the aftermath of the attack. Sitting down with some youth, I posed this discussion to them to examine the extent of Islamophobia in Norway.
I've come here to Norway just to find out, about Shias in Norway and how they're treated, and we've come to realize that there is maybe some element of Islamophobia here in the country. So I wanted to ask you guys, because you guys are youth, and mashallah, you all work hard to try and spread the message of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam here in the country, which is inspiring. But I mean, after what happened, that terrorist attack that happened, has there been a change in the way you're seen here in this country as Norwegian Muslims? I mean, can you tell me any stories of Islamophobia, or is there Islamophobia? Is it alive?
Personally, I think looking at the society in Norway, there are two main components to Islamophobia. Firstly, a lack of information and knowledge in the society. I think not enough people know what Islam is about. Secondly, it's our own fault if there is Islamophobia, because we as Muslims are not doing enough to prevent the misconceptions, to tell them about what real Islam is.
Is it really your fault? I mean, that for example, that terrorist attack that happened, I mean, is that your fault? The guy went out and just killed innocent people. I mean, Hassan, what do you think? Is that your guy's fault? I mean, are you Muslims at fault? I mean, do you disagree with him?
Yeah, I think I disagree partly with him, because we can say that Breivik might be motivated by those terrorist Salafi movement which are doing attacks around the world, but what he did in Norway is basically inhumane. There is no faith, no people behind it, or are the reason for him executing this attack. So that's his own I would say, way of thinking. And I remember that day when the attack happened. I was actually taking the bus from city center. So for a few minutes, my phone went off. So my family tried to contact me. Where are you? So when I came to my job, I was working there, and suddenly a guy came to me, a Norwegian guy, and he starts screaming, yelling. He's like, "I've said it all the time. It's because of you guys we have these problems here." And as soon as the bomb went off, no one knew who it was.
Yeah,
and all the Muslims were praying, "Please God, don't let it be a Muslim." And even my boss told me, "I don't hope it's a Muslim." So everyone was saying that. Why? Why didn't people think straight away it could be a Christian, or it could be a Jew, it could be an atheist, anyone? Why was it that they were thinking straight away it was a Muslim? So he started yelling at me, and I felt pain because it was in my country as well. I'm born and raised here.
Interesting. I mean, you guys, can you tell me that, for example, do you think that Islamophobia has been on the rise since that attack? I mean, what do you think?
Well, basically, I think it all started like in Denmark was a couple of months or a year before there was an attack in Denmark. So I think everything is combined together.
Okay.
But to blame that on us, I don't think that, because there's no religion, no culture, there's no human rights that allow a person to kill civilians. And the people who were killed were not only Muslims. You had Christians. It was just to send a message about that he's against Muslim, but at the same time, it wasn't just Muslims who died. But on the other hand, if we look at his thoughts and what he stands for, he says he's a Christian. So if they look at the Muslims all around the world and say Muslims are like this and like that, and you're terrorists, so we can point the finger back at them. If you say that, if you generalize all the Muslims at once, we could also generalize. But as Brother Shahir said, it's a lack of information, and the wrong messages are being sent.
You make a very good point, but at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of kind of us and them kind of thing. I mean, you guys, you guys as Norwegian Muslims, I mean, do you feel that there is become this us and them kind of feeling? You've been living here, I guess, for quite a long time. So this us and them feeling, has it come recently? Has it become worse? What do you think?
I think it's always been there since foreign people started coming into Norway. But recently, maybe the last 10 years after certain attacks around the world, it has started growing more and more. And there is discrimination, for example, applying for work or something like that. You see the discrimination. Even there are studies on this. That
even in Norway, in this country?
Yeah. For example, if you write a Norwegian name on application, it will be accepted on a larger basis than a foreign name. So these things come.
I mean, it's interesting because, I was told by someone else I interviewed here on my kind of journey. He said that Norway itself is probably one of the most peaceful countries in the world. It's hardly ever been involved in wars or that kind of like. I mean, do you think that the immigration of Muslims toward Norway, Hassan, I want to ask you, the immigration of Muslims toward Norway, has that kind of set off something that Norway hasn't seen in all its history, the fact that there might be violence, or is that an exaggeration?
I think it might be a little bit exaggeration as well, because the way we're talking now, I know we've felt some sort of Islamophobia somehow, but Norway is actually a peaceful country, I would say. The thing is, the case of Norway is similar to the rest of Europe. There's a French professor, Charles Benoit, and he actually made a research where he showed that previously Europe was using the communism as a enemy factor. So basically, the European identity was on one place, and the communists were on the other side. So they were saying the sickle, the one they cut the grass with.
Yeah.
So that was the enemy sign. But he said after the fall of communism, we needed to have another enemy, so we can still remain our European identity, and that was the Star and Crescent.
But why do they feel that they need to have an enemy?
It's because they wanted to create their own European identity, and in order to do that, they had to make someone as it's them and this is us. So that's why. But I think that's generally everywhere in Europe. But in Norway, I remember just about the incident I was telling you about my job. My boss came straight after that, and he gave me a lot of support. And he even went through the cameras to see who that person was, so he could try to find his name in the system and try to call him, tell him to come back and apologize. And as soon as we found out that this guy was a Norwegian, I think it was around 10:30, And from when the attacks same day, when the attacks happened at 3:45 or something, until 10, all the Muslims were stressed out. All the houses were locked. People from communities, they called their families and daughters, told them, look, go home, lock yourself up, stay home, it's not safe. Some of the people were Muslims were dragged out of the bus, beaten up. Some were expelled from areas. Some Muslim girls were beaten up. So all these kind of things happened, and people straight blamed Islam, which was sad, and that's Islamophobia, you could say. But the reaction afterwards, when they found it wasn't reason, many apologies came to Muslims. A better understanding towards Islam came. You had in the picture, in the media, everywhere, it was an imam and a priest standing together, doing and the crown prince of the country, he came to the mosque, he visited the mosque. The prime minister went to the mosque and he gave speeches. So it was like that showed that the country is open for Islam, but then the Muslim have to work a little bit themselves as well.
So do you guys think that, I mean, as Norwegian Muslims, do you guys feel accepted in this country? Do you feel like you're Norwegian? Do you have a Norwegian identity?
It's challenging. We have challenges in terms of first and foremost because of our religion. It is a minority in the world as well, within Islam as well. So we face challenges there. Secondly, being one with Indian background in Norway, as Rahi said, it's easier to think that you're part of this country. But for me, I remember before I used to be the biggest Norwegian nationalist, I could say. When I lived in London, you can ask him, as all we lived together, and I used to put the Norwegian flag. First thing I did, Norwegian flag on the wall. But now I wouldn't have done it, because now I do not feel I'm part of Norway. I don't feel I'm part of India. I'm not part of anywhere, because I feel like I'm kind of somewhere in between. It's because of a few incidents, a few things I've experienced. Norway is a great country, one of the best countries you can find in the world, without a doubt. But you will feel, whatever you do, whatever you try, you will still be a foreigner.
On my journey through Norway, I met many Muslims of many different backgrounds. It was obvious to me that Islam was a religion well on the rise in this quiet Scandinavian country. But for every answer I was given to my questions, more questions arose. What is the future of Islam in Norway? Will it have to deal with a terrifying amount of Islamophobia? Or will it settle peacefully into this age-old society? Pondering on my time here, the only real answer was, only time will tell.